What if the non-duality we've been taught about is wrong? Some of what I say here might be controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway, because misleading information, it could be the thing that points people away from the very realization that could liberate them. So stick with me, and by the end of this video, together we will be crystal clear on what non-duality really is, and importantly, isn't. There is a lot of talk about non-duality out there. Lots of beautiful ideas, lots of clever concepts, and also a lot of non-duality nonsense. Not from all sources. There are some phenomenal speakers out there, but there's some stuff that is unintentionally unhelpful. Unhelpful by virtue of it being an incomplete understanding. So here's something worth wondering together. Are the people we're hearing from on non-duality, are they speaking from a direct awakening experience or from an eloquent, well-constructed intellectual framework? Are they coming from a living non-dual knowing or chatting about something they've not genuinely touched into? And it's an important distinction. And that isn't about judgment. It's about passion for the truth of who we are and why we're here. And if misunderstanding means that people miss out on that, that is not cool. Later, I'm going to lift the lid and get specific about the teachings that I'm referring to here. And you might disagree with me. And that's all good. That's all healthy. You are welcome to. First, though, let's get right to the heart of what non-duality actually is. And this matters. It matters because non-duality is quite possibly the most important perspective that most people out there, people in about, have never heard of, let alone seen from. And if you have glimpsed from a non-dual knowing, you will know how utterly effing fantastic it is. Non-duality, the ungraspable key behind what many traditions refer to as awakening or enlightenment, and ungraspable because this perspective, it can't easily be experienced through a mind that believes itself to be a me. Since we live in a dualistic world, the world of you and me and this and that, subject and object, for example, when we look around the room, what is it we notice? Objects, the chair, the door, the screen. We rarely notice the space around the things, although because I've just mentioned it, you'll be noticing that now. Our object-focused way of seeing, simply how our minds have been trained since we were tiny babies. The mind, it divides, it labels, it contrasts, and importantly, it separates. Duality, it is this separation. And from this human experience, that feels objectively true. The me is a separate thing in a world of things. Yet, that's just one perspective, and it's a very limited perspective. From the non-dual perspective, there is no separation. Many likely well-intentioned people have over time wrongly described non-duality as oneness. The problem with that is there's still a one in oneness. There's still all of these concepts and constructs and a one that is grappling to comprehend. Non-duality, it points to something bigger than oneness. Because there are no things in non-dualism, there's nothing for us to grasp. There's nothing for the mind to grab onto. It is beyond comprehension, which is why most minds will simply dismiss it. It's just, well, it's too much or too little. It holds no value for the mind. This is why there can be a rejection of non-duality. The dualistic self, the me mind, it tends to operate from this, well, what's in it for me? And so it's no wonder, particularly in people who have this very solid sense of individualism, there can be like, whoa, a very strong reduction of non-duality because it challenges our concept of ourself. Self-important people, they utterly detest this stuff. And I'm guessing because you are here, you're not one of them. And yet, in all of us, them too, whether loudly or quietly rumbling away, there is this sense that we're not quite getting the whole picture of who it is we really are. During my many years as a therapist, I heard the same phrase again and again, the phrase, I'm not enough. This not enoughness, it sits at the root of so much of our pain. And when we get it, when we get non-duality, it suddenly makes sense. If all we've ever known is this dualistic viewpoint, this separate little me trying to prove myself in and against the world, well, of course, we're not going to feel enough. Of course, because that separate little me, it isn't who or what we truly are. Now, this is a wonderfully juicy topic, so I'm going to come back and make a separate video on this. So back to this sense that we have that there's something that is missing. The me mind, the little me, interprets this as something is wrong. So that incredibly clever little me, it looks for solutions. It looks to satiate this sense of lack. But where's it going to look? Well, it looks out, of course, into the world of things. So what things? Perhaps another, the soulmate, the lover. That will make me feel whole and complete, like that scene in Jerry Maguire where he says during the lift, you complete me. And that's all rather delicious. But of course, hate to break it to you, you've not yet experienced this one, but it's still not enough, is it? So we look for fulfillment, completeness through all sorts of other stuff, but perhaps material things, possessions, achievements, experiences, maybe through finding our purpose. We have all this myriad of choices available to us in this pick and mix of doing personhood. And yet still with this outward looking focus, we're still incomplete. And then we might realize our question, goodness, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem. And to a certain extent, we are right. So a very understandable human response is to, right, I'm going to try and fix this brokenness. I'll do the work. I will get myself sorted. I'm going to better myself. I'll do some self-improvement and self-development. And it's going to take self-discipline and a sprinkle of self-care, self-reinforcing self, creating this new self, this new me. And on a dualistic level, some of that might be really useful stuff, and that's great. But as we know, it's not the whole picture. It's not even a tiny fragment of the whole picture. Now, for the sensitive among us, the call to find the bit that's missing, that can become really loud, like the loudest sound that only you can hear. And other people, they might not get it. For me, I was like, had this physical reaction to this invisible sound. I lost days, months, years maybe, devouring everything, YouTube videos, books, going on courses, anything that I could get my claws into. What is the answer to this missing piece? Have you had that happen? And that's very often the start of a spiritual journey of some kind. Perhaps we join one of the many different paths of seeking that are leading us to that projected destination wholeness. The thing is, if we're still coming through and from the individual, the me that is separate from this limited separate perspective, we're always going to be separate, always going to be not enough. As long as we're looking out of these eyes through a framework of conditioning that we've been trained in through not just this lifetime, but handed down through generations, well, as this person, we can't see what it is we're looking for, because what we're looking for, as well as being bigger than the bigness of our possible comprehension, it's also incredibly close. It's closer than close. It's closer than breathing. I ask, what if it's only the construct of a me that holds us in separation? What if it's only our idea of ourselves, this idea that is holding everything at arm's length? Our intellectual capacity, it's a wonderful thing, but what is its capacity? If we were able to put that perspective down and not pick anything else up, what then? Non-dual, not two, not one, not separate. Simple, right? And also, within that simplicity arises all complexity. So if we come back to that misunderstanding that can occur, humour me while I play with those. So on the one hand, we have the very eloquent, let's just hang out in loving awareness again. Lovely stuff. Bit spiritual bypassy, maybe, but it can be very beautiful there. A really serenely nice place to hang out and live. However, there's a Zen saying, heaven is the most dangerous place. A little comfortable cul-de-sac that we can get caught in, held on the way to awakening. And it's not true non-duality, this I'll just be the witnessing presence. I'll just stick a flag into the concept of consciousness and tie it in a neat little bow. Yeah, it's nice, but don't get caught in the cul-de-sac. Don't get sidetracked and miss out on what is the real prize. And then on the other hand, we have our radical non-dualists. What a gorgeous lot. Me? Me who? Oh no. Never. There's no one here at all. There's just this floating around, completely unfazed by your incredibly petty common consensus reality. And it's funny. It's funny because, of course, there are tinges of truth. There's truth in both perspectives, for sure. And there's a very masculine error in being completely right, in that we make something else completely wrong. By taking a black and white stance, we take a dualistic stance on non-duality. The absurdity. So I ask you, what is the middle way? What is the way that recognizes that non-duality is so larger than large that it contains all duality within it? It doesn't have to be either or. What about all and? To the little me mind, the paradox of this can seem irreconcilable. But bear with me, because the Zen imagery I'm about to share, it makes it so much easier to get. So, the ultimate and the relative are simultaneously arising. I'm everything and everyone, and you too, and nothing and no one, and I am Francis. We don't have to bypass or deny our humanness. So, the Zen imagery, 1 foot in the stream, 1 foot on the bank. This is how we navigate all duality within non-duality. So the foot on the bank, that is our foot firmly grounded in this human life, here to be here to experience it fully. And then the foot that's in the stream, once we become a stream enterer, we've seen through this illusion of a fixed sense of self. And there's this freedom and playfulness. We are all of it. And we can revel in the flow of this ever-changing symphony of the seasons of life that we get to experience for this fleeting time. Now, if we maintain our link to the ultimate within the relative, it's a very different way of being with life. But it's a balance, because if we lean too far one way or too far the other, we can encounter stuckness and suffering. If we're just on the bank and there's no connection to the stream, if we're just reduced to this little me, our little life gets fueled by our fears. And that's understandable, because if I'm just and only this little person, I'm ultimately, well, I'm going to lose all dualism. I'm going to lose all the things, all of these things, everything I hold dear. So life on the bank is a tragedy. But if we lean too far into the stream, well, life can become a joke. What's the point? There can be a nihilistic nothingness, this lonely whirlpool. And it's a checking out of sorts, and it is not why we are here on this planet. So being the bridge that bridges the gap of 1 foot in the stream, 1 foot on the bank in uprightness. That is the challenge that we've been given. And that is the version of non-duality that is alive in me. Middle way non-duality, maybe. Mindful non-duality. Mahayana Zen without any ism. Maybe together we can figure this stuff out. This is the very start of this channel, and it's kind of miraculous that you're even seeing this video. So it would make my heart on the dualistic level sing if you chose to support me by subscribing, liking and commenting. And how fortunate are we together, you and I, we get to explore this fascinating interplay of contrast and connection. I'd love you to come on this road to nowhere with me. Extra bonus, seeing as you've stayed right till the end, I run breakthrough intensive retreats. And if you want to explore this work more deeply and directly, they might be for you. Big love.